Here's another interesting VCR that I found. This is an MTC model MCR-213. And this is a rebadged Shintom VCR-650. Basically, I don't want to go into the details of this. Lots of people have covered this. Spats Bears covered this. Lots of other YouTube channels. Shintom made commercial grade VCR mechanisms. Funai bought from them until about 1992. So all the sort of well-regarded Funai mechanisms were actually made by Shintom, but Funai made the rest of the VCR and sold it under whatever. But this is a fully Shintom made VCR, and this is the MTC variant. And what's interesting is MTC, as far as I remember, was a low-end electronics brand up here in Canada. I actually picked this up for free on Kijiji, which is sort of like our Craigslist up in some Canadian cities. And it came with a 19-inch MTC TV as well. And both of these look like they were pulled out of a business. You still have the sticker on the side. And it really doesn't look like it's been used much. I kind of imagine this was either in some manager's office for years, or maybe in a break room or customer area. And it came with the original remote. Well, I cleaned it up, but it was in remarkably good shape. Look at how simple that is. This doesn't even have channel up and down. I flip the front door down. This is a super simple 2-head mono VCR. Simple controls, rewind, play, fast forward, stop, pause. This will do still or essentially frame advance. Record, which is one touch. Your tracking and enhancer, which is basically sharpness. The two little buttons here that you'd push in with I guess a screwdriver or a pen tip. Clear just resets everything. T-adjust is time adjust. So when you want to set the clock, you push this, and then you can use the channel up and down buttons and the enter button to go through and set your date and time. You can toggle between cable TV and broadcast or antenna. Tape speed, all 3 speeds. Program, which will allow you to set your scheduled timer programs. This has 6 programs in 14 days, which, reading the Wikipedia, apparently they were the first manufacturer to do that. Enter when you're in program mode or setting the clock. It's also the TV VCR for the RF modulator. Channel up and down, also for program edit. And that's it. I find this remote interesting. The videos I've seen on all the other Shintom variants, it's a much wider remote. It actually is kind of the same width as, this is the remote that came with the MTC television, the matching TV. And the VCR remote that I've seen for Shintom VCR-650s is more of this sort of shape and form factor. But for whatever reason, the MTC version, there is sort of a lightweight, stripped down remote. The 2 buttons to press record over here. And you can see what kind of a brand MTC normally was. This remote has no brand on it. It's got no markings, nothing. Who knows who made this TV? They just throw a remote in the box, put a sticker on the front. Okay, it's made by MTC. Send it out, sell it in like Woolco or Zellers or wherever. And this thing's pretty gross. I have not cleaned that one up yet. Taking a look inside. It came spotless. I cleaned the heads, I cleaned everything, and nothing came off. All my Q-tips, all my paper stock doing a cleaning, white. There was no dirt on this at all. The belts are in okay shape. They're getting a little spongy, and that's evident when you're first playing a tape or switching from forward to like a reverse gear with the idler gear here, it will sort of slowly move from one position to another, and your take-up will pause for a second, get a bit of tape looping in here before it continues. So the belts will have to be replaced. I imagine I'm going to have to give this a bit of a cleaning as well. In here it might be sticking. But overall, for a VCR from 1990, it's in very good shape. And I almost passed this up because I saw MTC in the ad and went, oh, that's some cheap store brand crap. And I'm very happy that I decided to go and pick this up. So I watched the video that Spatsbear put online about his XR1000 variant. And what I found interesting is his has on-screen display. This doesn't, but they look identical. The front controls are identical. The VFD is identical. The only difference is his has a nice orange mask, whereas this one's more of a clear to give that sort of purplish white color. But they seem identical. This is just a stripped down version. So I guess if I were to go maybe pull these circuit boards out, there was a variant that didn't have on-screen display. Because when I go and operate this here, if I punch in 88, nothing at all. I can go and I can change channels. Nothing happens. When I switch to AV or line in, it'll go blank. But that's it. And also, if I go in here and I hit program, see, I'm in program mode now. I'm programming the first event. Nothing. So no on-screen display on the MTC model. So let's pop a tape in. I'll start with pre-recorded tape in SP mode. And as I play this more and more, that take-up reel is getting better and better. Belt will still have to be replaced, but for demonstration purposes, it seems to be working okay. Nice picture. Looks a little washed out on the camera. That's just the camera versus the TV here.
Sean, this is really a tough spot for Elliott to be in. Anytime you come off as hard a year as he had,
that's pretty good sound. Pause is what you'd expect for a two-head. It's got a frame advance when you press the pause button, and play will unpause it.
Like this.
One interesting thing I've noticed, turn the volume down, is that the tracking adjustment seems a little off on here. So typically on most VCRs I find that you want to set the tracking in the middle for a pre-recorded tape. This one, when I have the tracking in the middle, see there's just a bit of noise, and then if I go to the left, it goes all wacky. And right in the middle, we're just on the edge of a bit of noise. And if I turn it all the way to the right, cleans up. And go through some of the other adjustments here. So I'll turn the tracking back. I have sharpness all the way up, all the way down. That's labeled as enhancer. Now let's try rewind scan, because that will probably cause some tape to spool up inside here. See how fast it responds. Yeah, not bad. You see it kind of jumping a little bit. Every once in a while the take up hiccups. So that's a belt issue there. Alright, hit stop. And let's try something recorded in EP mode. My usual go-to. Oh, take-up's just hiccuping for a second. Picture looks okay.
Maybe it's time I gave something back.
Are you thinking of joining the Naval Reserve?
Would you be proud of me?
Yes, sort of.
Again, if I adjust the tracking, now this was recorded on another VCR, so the tracking adjustment, depending on the VCR you're recording and playing back, it's understandable you'll have to turn to one side or the other. But this seems to be following exactly the same as that pre-recorded tape. All the way to the right, clear. In the middle, noise. And then off to the far left. So, yeah, tracking seems a little off. Sounds also a little garbly. I did a test record and playback on this in EP, and you can definitely hear that the flat belt for the idler will need to be replaced as well, which might end up being a problem because all the belt suppliers, it's getting harder and harder to find belts. SMC, Studio Electronics, they're all getting sold out with belt kits, and some of the belts, I was looking for the belt that drives the idler on this, and that's like 14 inches or something absurd, and I'm having trouble finding it. So I'm not really too sure what I'm going to do to replace all the belts on this thing. I'd really like to get it up to full working order because it's a very neat VCR. Oh, and one thing I want to show is the VFD display here. So you have pause, it flashes with frame advance, play, fast forward, and I'll grab a blank tape to show the record on it. It's got a red circle for record. Hit rewind. So when it doesn't have the play symbol, it means it's full fast forward or full rewind. And you can load the play symbol. And then if I want to scan, it'll show the fast forward or rewind symbol beside it. Very neat. And it's just got a standard counter, standard tape counter. And then you can switch between the clock and the counter with the remote. Interestingly enough, you can't do it on the front panel. The front panel of this is nearly self-sufficient where you wouldn't need a remote. All the controls can be done on here, except for that one button. And, you know, in my experience, VCRs have always had, complicated menus and lots of different buttons, especially from this era. And this one just seems like it's built very simple, very basic. So I've just loaded a blank tape in here. And if you want to record, one touch, and you have the red circle of record. And you can pause and hit record again to unpause. You got the counter going. Very simple unit. I'll put a sample recording at the end of this. And here's the underside, as seen in lots of videos. This belt is not as bad as I've seen in some others. It will rewind, it will fast forward, but I can tell you just the way this feels. It feels very weak and spongy. It started to degrade, and you can see how much slack there is just going like that. Like that. The flat belt's got a lot of slack on it, which, we'll see what the recording and playback is like in EP. That'll highlight the bad belt on that real fast. And just if you're curious, I'm going to set the clock. Power on. Got the little T adjust there. Press it, it's flashing. So I can set this to Friday. Enter. Enter. Done. Here's the back. RF out, antenna input, channel 3/4 selector, your audio video input output. Here's the model number and serial number. And one neat thing here, it's got these pegs. So you can sit this on its back, I guess, when you're servicing it, and it won't rest on any of the jacks on the back. And there it is, the MTC MCR-213 VCR, manufactured by Shintom in 1990, somewhat of a clone of the Shintom VCR-650. I feel like this is the stripped down version without the on-screen display and the much simpler remote. But yeah, and if anyone knows where I can start sourcing belts again, please let me know in the comments. Just a quick note on this. I brought it downstairs to do some video transfer, and when I unplug it, it remembers the time, it remembers the date, it remembers the counter. So I left the tape in this, and it remembered the position of how far I recorded when I unplugged this, waited 5 minutes, and then brought it downstairs.
Was there doing aviation training and a family court hearing that had everyone in tears.
Welcome to the courthouse on this amazing day.
The overwhelming love and support for a little boy on his adoption.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin today with growing concerns. Vaping is causing more cases of serious illness in this country than the public is being made aware of. These are the official numbers from Health Canada. 13 cases, 2 in New Brunswick, 5 in Quebec, 3 in Ontario, and 3 in BC. Doctors working directly with patients tell us the number of vaping-related illnesses is actually much higher. Vaping has soared among young people, and Health Canada warns no one knows the long-term health effects. There's no research to tell us. What we do know is the potential risk to your health is real.